Every day, after finishing our Nama Sankirtan, we offer our grateful pranams at the lotus feet of Bhagavan. Bhagavan had said that every Nama sharpens our brain. Every Nama adds to the sattvic nature of our being. No single Nama goes waste. Every Nama does its transforming work. So let's remember this. We should teach the children also, and the college students, school students. Bhagavan says it sharpens the brain. We should teach the children also, and the college students, school students. Bhagavan says it sharpens the brain. That Nama chanting makes one dull is only for a particular cross-section of people who have no faith in the name of God, who have to analyze, do the clinical analysis of everything and then accept, if it's acceptable to them. Bhagavan says, no, Nama chanting will not make you dull. On the contrary, it makes you sharp. It makes your brain sharp. It pleases God. It makes you sattvic. It does, every Nama does its transforming work. So now we have to offer our grateful pranams once again for this gift of grace. In Sarnadi Street House, Bhagavan laid strong emphasis upon contentment. You hear Bhagavan saying, if you have all the wealth of Kubera, Kubera is the Lord of wealth, if you happen to possess all the wealth that Kubera himself possessed, if you still not have contentment, you are still very poor. If you may not have the wealth, but if you have contentment, then you can say you are the richest. This is what Bhagavan was reiterating, emphasizing. Contentment is very important in life. Contentment means you enjoy what you already have. That is true happiness. Do not hanker after anything. When you hanker after things, no matter how much you already possess, it amounts to not possessing anything that would make you happy. So what's the point in wanting more and more, because it's not going to make you happy at all. So Bhagavan was talking about contentment, saying that that's one thing that you must have if you want spiritual progress. Be happy with what you have. Do not desire more. Do not multiply your needs. So Bhagavan went on saying how one should have this contentment. I came across two stories which would substantiate the point in discussion. The first one I might have narrated already. I remember to have narrated already, but still, these things have to be repetitive. Just as you repeat the name, any thought you keep on repeating, every time you repeat it gathers power. So here also, when we repeat a certain story again and again, we are able to draw the essence of it into our depths. The first thing is, we do not know how much we already enjoy the blessings. We are not aware, though we enjoy, we just take it for granted and we don't think it's something very special. And therefore what we think is special, we hanker after that. There wasn't this old man, 70 years. He was quite healthy up till then. And one day, he found just going to the toilet became very difficult for him. He was not able to move. His kidneys were not functioning. With the result, his stomach started to bloat. He found it a terrible experience. And then, of course, people rushed him to the hospital. It took some time to recover to normalcy. And then after that, when he was discharged from the hospital, they sent a bill. As soon as he saw the bill, he started to cry. People thought, oh, it must have been a big fat bill, that he's crying because he has to pay so much. But then he said, no, it's not the bill. Up till now, up till the 70 years, I have had a healthy body. I just took it for granted. Everything has been given to me, good health. Every part of me was functioning so well. I had no complaints at all. And then all of a sudden this happened. Now something which I never even gave a thought to, going to the toilet, today has become such a problem. I'm unable to breathe. I feel so heavy. I have to be rushed to the hospital, spend lakhs of rupees to become normal again. And then when I think of all this, I was also thinking how healthy God has kept me all these 70 years. I just took it for granted. And He never sent me a bill. And then he started to cry again. You see, if God has to send you a bill for the air that you breathe, the water that you drink, for the land that He has given, and the food, every comfort that nature has given you already. Imagine what a huge bill that you would be getting from God, and He gives it free. We already enjoy them. It's just that they become so casual to us. We don't pay attention to it until a part of my body comes under repair. Something goes wrong with any part of the body and you're not able to use it anymore, and that's when you know how healthy it has been, how much you had enjoyed its health. So it's better to be aware of all the blessings that you already have and be grateful to God. This is what Bhagavan was emphasizing. Bhagavan was saying contentment. And because of this contentment, be grateful to God because He is the giver. Be happy, be contented. It's only when you are contented, when you learn how to be contented, how to be satisfied with what you already have and not long for something which you do not possess. Now there's another story. Dr. Ramanathan when he was doing this compare, in one of those functions in 2010, 10 years back, he spoke. He gave us a story, a beautiful story, the one that explains so well what Bhagavan was stating all along, contentment, the joy of things that you already possess, and the habit of not complaining and being grateful to God for whatever He has given you already. You see that in the story, thanks to Dr. Ramanathan. Today, when I was just thinking that I would make this teaching of Bhagavan, this contentment, and there was so little of that, a small paragraph about contentment. I was thinking how to say that. It would take hardly 5 minutes. And then I was telling Bhagavan, Bhagavan, please give me something more, something to substantiate this. And then suddenly I went and pulled out a bound book, which was 2010, Sharanagatam. And then I just opened on a page where the story was, Dr. Ramanathan's story, which I thought was very relevant to the point. He said, there was a woodcutter in a forest. His job was to cut wood, cut the trees, make wood, and then take it to the town, sell it, and make money. He was living very happily, very grateful, happy, grateful, contented with the little income that he got. And then every day he would sit before God, Bhagavan, the Murti, and then offer his thanks to him. Very happy and contented, he would offer his thanks to him. One day, the king of that place, he came to the forest for hunting. And it became very late. He stayed back in the forest itself. And then he found this light coming from a certain place. So he moved towards it and he found this kutir, a small hut there. And this woodcutter was praying to God, saying, God, I am so grateful for all the things that you have given me. I feel so happy and contented because of your grace. Praise thee, I praise you. All this praise is due to you. This king came inside and he said, why are you thanking God? What are you doing? Oh, I'm doing wood cutting. So what do you get out of it? Oh, I get little money which is enough for me to eat and go on. So why do you thank God for this? It is the king of the kingdom who is running, who is ruling this country so well that people are very happy. You have to thank the king for that. He said, no, even the king depends upon the grace of God. The king could not be what he is today without the grace of God. Even he has to thank God for all that he has got. Because anything, any moment, anything can happen to change the course of events. Nothing is in our hands. But the king felt very offended because, of course, this woodcutter did not know it was king in disguise. But the king knew that woodcutter was saying something not very agreeable to him. So he went away and then he sent word that wood cutting is forbidden. So that this woodcutter, this happy woodcutter, would not be able to cut the trees and sell them. After 2 or 3 days, the king once again went there in disguise and said, "How are you?" "Oh, I am very happy and grateful to God." "What do you mean? What are you doing now?" "Oh, this wood cutting is forbidden, so I go to the town and stitch the chapels. I'm a cobbler now. I'm very happy with what little I get out of that. It's all God. You see, when one door is closed, another door opens. And that's pure grace." The king was once again upset because he was not thanking the king. So he went away, and the next day he gave a command that the cobblers, the stitching, the repairing of the chapels was forbidden. So you see, this profession was taken out of him. So after 2 or 3 days, the king returned to the forest in disguise, and he found this simple man, happy, contented, grateful. Once again, he was thanking God. He was praising the Lord. The king asked him, "How can you praise the God? It is your king has done this. The God whom you think is helping you, what has he done?" "Oh, don't say that. Now that profession was taken away from me, but it's okay. Now I go to the town and do some repairing work on the umbrellas. I get some money, which is enough and more. So I'm happy. You see, God has opened another door. I'm very happy." So you see, after that, the king was giving. Whatever this man took up, this woodcutter, immediately it would be taken away from him by the king. At one point, he was not able to proceed at all, this woodcutter. He should have been terribly upset. Had we been in his place, God knows what we would have done. We would have done this archana. We would have poured abuse on him. But this man was still very happy, grateful, contented. And then the king was very curious. Now when he came to this kutir, he said, "Look, you don't have any. The king has done it. The king is so bad. You see, even this he has stopped. Now you have no job at all. But why are you still happy? Why are you so contented? Why are you praising God?" Then the man said, "So what? I have joined the army of the king now." "Oh, you have joined the army. That's okay. But then they would give you the salary only after 15 days. The salary is given only every 15 days. What would you do up till then?" The woodcutter said, "Oh, you see, they gave me a sword. And they said, this king is so good. He is not aggressive. And so there is no question of any war. He would not invite a war, nor would people make war with him. He's such a good man." So I was very assured of that. So what I did, I sold the sword. And now I'm living on that money. And you are still praising God? Yes. Because it's He who has done it, who has made it possible. It's He who gave me the idea to sell it, make money. So what do you have in the place of the sword? Because you have to carry a sword as one of the soldiers. He said, "I made a sword out of wood. I'm carrying this around." Then the king thought, okay, he's caught red-handed now. Now I can give him some punishment openly. Even now he's not He is thanking God. Because only when he stops thanking God, he would start appreciating what the king has provided. That was the point the king was wanting to make. So the next day, he called this man to his court. And this woodcutter was surprised. The visitor all these days was none other than the great king of the kingdom. He was surprised, he was quite taken aback, but he was very happy as usual. Nobody could take his happiness away from him. And then the king said, because he wanted to catch him, the king knew there was only a wooden sword with him. So he said, you are a soldier now with a sword. And then he had one prisoner brought to the court saying, this prisoner has to be given the capital punishment. He has to die today. Now I am allotting this work to you. Use your sword. Cut his head. He has to be beheaded. Use the sword and do it. Because the king knew he would pull out only the wood sword, and with the wood sword he could not do that. And then the king could expose him to the people around. The king thought he was very, very clever, that there was absolutely no way the woodcutter could escape, and he had to grumble. He could not be grateful to God. He could not be happy. He could not be contented anymore. Now he is right in the danger of his life. So thinking, the king was waiting to see what this woodcutter would do. The woodcutter now was in a dilemma. He immediately prayed to God, God, what will I do? Please give me something to hold on to. I'm caught well. He said all this in his mind, and suddenly a thought came to him. After he prayed to God, a thought came to him, and then he began to speak very loudly for everybody there to hear. He said, "Oh God, right from my childhood up till now, I have never harmed any being, be it an ant or a bird or a creepy crawly. I have never harmed any being, any animal, any human being. If I have truly done that, the sword with me must turn into wood sword. The sword given by the king must turn into wooden sword." So saying, he pulled out the sword. Naturally, it was wooden sword because he had already put it there. It was the only one he had. Only the king knew it. None of the others knew. All the others, when they saw him pulling out the wooden sword, they exclaimed, what is happening? A miracle. The sword, the metal sword given by the king has turned into wooden sword. So God is listening to him. Oh, he's a big man. So they were all very impressed. And the king saw the whole thing through, and then he thought, my God, how resourceful this man is. Even now he is not upset, he is not complaining about God. He is still contented. And he tricked me. He played a trick. These people have believed now, are very impressed. Now I need someone like him, someone who is very resourceful, who uses his brain in the times of difficulty, who has the presence of mind to put his brain to use and find a way out of any tricky situation. So the king now changed his mind completely, was all appreciation for the woodcutter, and he made him his minister. Because this man doesn't complain, this man is ever contented, and what is more, he is resourceful. I can always consult him in any dilemma. So you see, the woodcutter, because he was contented with what little he had, he felt grateful towards God, and because he felt grateful towards God, he was joyful. And now he is the minister who could advise the king. So this is what contentment, of course, if you carry it further, God himself comes to us. When you are contented, there is peace in the heart. The peace in the heart is like clear water. And in clear water, you can see the riverbed. When the river is clear, you can see all the small stones on the riverbed. It will be crystal clear. That's what they call it. Like that, the heart that has the peace, when the heart is filled with peace, it's like a clear water, and you could see God in the depths of our being. So if you want to see God in the heart of your heart, in the depths of your heart, you have to be contented. No matter what happens, you have to not lose your contentment, not lose your joy of living, not lose your gratitude towards God, because it is He has enriched you with peace, joy, and gratitude. So this is what Bhagavan gave me. I came upon it unexpectedly. I just prayed to Bhagavan, Bhagavan, give me something to substantiate this point. And when I opened a book, the story of Dr. Ramanathan came, and I am very grateful to him for this. 10 years back, just see how Bhagavan helps. He always promised, when you talk about this beggar, when you write about this beggar, help will come from Father. Today this story came. So the point is, let's listen to Bhagavan once again. Contentment enriches our lives. He used to make us sing the song, Kurai Ondrumillai Maraimurthy Kanna, meaning, I have no complaints, I have no complaints. When you are there to give me what I need, I have no complaints. You may not give me what I want, and what I want may not suit me also when it comes. But you are there definitely to give me what I need. So I have no complaints, I have no complaints. So if we only learn to be contented with what we already have and not crave, long for more, something missing, we are the richest people, we are the closest to God. So this is what we have to remember, Bhagavan's words. Even Kubera would be jealous. This is what he said. Even Kubera would be jealous of you, because with all his wealth, he is not happy, he is not contented. He is always looking for more wealth. So Bhagavan advised people to be satisfied. But how can you be satisfied? You want a promotion, you want a new car, you want a better place to live, You think that your old dress is tearing in places, you want a new one. A need is different from want. Wants can multiply, the need doesn't. And when something happens untoward, something negative happens, how can you be happy and satisfied? So Bhagavan says, whatever life brings to you, be it good or bad, know that it happens only by the will of God, by the will of my Father who is perfect. So whatever life brings to you is necessary in some way for your spiritual growth. So learn to look upon it as a blessing. Whatever Father gives you is pure grace. No matter how adverse it looks while it's happening, it is still a blessing. If you think that it's a blessing, it will prove itself to be a blessing. It will show how it is a blessing to you. So whatever happens, let us learn to look upon it as God's will and therefore God's blessing, and then it will prove to be a blessing to us, so that we can keep the lamp of contentment burning all the time. Now today we shall submit our prayers